What's going on, guys? Welcome to the channel. If you're new here, a lot of you are because it's kind of the new year, people start new diets. We're going to be showing you the Keto Basics series, just all kind of the basic recipes that people use to stick to the diet. A lot of them are like replications of high carb foods. So this is probably the staple. It is called Fathead pizza crust. This is a super simple recipe. It uses, I guess, 4 ingredients, maybe some seasonings if you want to spice it up a little bit. Pros and cons of a Fathead pizza crust, in my opinion, here's the con right here. It uses a lot of cheese, and usually you top your pizza with cheese. So if you make a crust with cheese, you top it with cheese, you get a lot of cheese. So we have an alternative to this recipe. It is a 0-carb chicken crust pizza. That one is really good. It's actually my personal favorite. I think it's better than this one. But a lot of people love this one, so we're gonna show you how to make Fathead pizza crust. To begin, we have 1.5 cups of mozzarella cheese and 1 ounce of cream cheese. It's important that you get part skim mozzarella. So we're gonna add this to a microwave safe bowl, and we're gonna melt it in bursts of 30 seconds, and we're gonna use a fork to just kind of check, make sure it doesn't burn. We're gonna melt it in the microwave, but you can also do it on a double boiler setup on your stovetop. Okay guys, you can see it's melting. We just mix it around. I'm gonna burst it for like 10 or 15 more seconds, and it's pretty close.
You're gonna burst it?
Yeah, or is that good? Do you think that's good?
No, give it maybe like 10 more seconds and then quickly add.
A little bit more. You don't wanna over melt or burn the cheese though. Now this is where a little bit of expertise comes in. Take your almond flour, this is what I like to do. You gotta build up a barrier between the cheese and the egg so it doesn't burn. I add the almond flour, then I add the egg on top. The key thing here is don't let the egg burn. Don't let the egg cook is the key thing here. So now just mix that in, do it quick. The almond flour is kind of cooling down the cheese. The egg's getting in there. Mix it together, and this is gonna be your pizza crust. If it gets too cool on you and you can't integrate fully the almond flour and the egg, then you can just burst it even after you add those. I keep saying burst it. You just put it in the microwave. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Like you can still see there's some yellow from the egg yolk. There's a little clump of almond flour. It's not a big deal. But this came together pretty good. The easiest way to roll this out into a thin pizza crust, and the thinner the better. You want it to be crispy and thin like a New York style pizza. Don't try to make this like a thick crust pizza. It doesn't work well. So just pour this onto a parchment paper, 1 piece. We're gonna top it with another piece of parchment paper and use a rolling pin or a wine bottle to roll this out. Try to get it nice and thin, probably like no thicker than maybe a 1/4 inch. That's probably about good. The parchment paper shouldn't stick because obviously there's a lot of grease and oil in the cheese. That looks good to me. Okay, now we got the oven preheating to 400 degrees, and we're gonna transfer this to a baking sheet. You could also, if you have a pizza stone, that could be good too, but just be sure to keep it on the parchment paper. And we are gonna bake this at 400 degrees, just the crust, for about 8 to 10 minutes until it gets a little golden brown. You basically wanna look for the interior to get golden brown because once you top it, that's not gonna bake much anymore. And the crust doesn't really burn, so you don't have to worry too much about that. So we're gonna pop this in probably for 10 minutes. Okay guys, crust is out of the oven, and I would say I left it in a tad bit too long, although it's perfectly fine. This was in for 10 minutes, maybe more like 8. Our oven runs a little hot. Now we're gonna put on the toppings. You can do any toppings you like, obviously. Some good options, what I like to do is usually like basil pesto. This is really good. You just gotta make sure it uses olive oil and not like soybean oil or something. But today we're gonna keep it basic. We got some marinara sauce. And if you guys wanna make this recipe, linked below is the blog post with the full recipe. And we give recommendations for the different types of keto-friendly marinara sauces. You gotta look out for like obviously added sugars, bad oils, things like that. Top it with some marinara sauce. Nice thin layer. Pizza, what a great idea, right? Now let's add some mozzarella cheese. I like fresh mozzarella on top. That's really good. But we're just gonna use the same cheese we used for the crust. Sprinkle some of that on. Then we got some pepperonis, always a classic. These are turkey pepperonis though. They're pretty good, not as good as normal. And then lastly, I like to add a little bit of Italian seasoning on top, or you could do oregano, you could do parsley. If you have fresh basil, that's the best. So all you really need now is the toppings to melt and cook through a little bit. We are going to put it in the oven for about 5 to 7 minutes at 400 degrees. And we'll be back to taste test. Pizza is served. I see people on Instagram and stuff, they make them look a lot nicer than this. Yeah, you can see it did get to be pretty crispy, which is what I like.
really nice.
And I am a big fan of not cutting it in triangles. I like to cut it in like weird, not even square. Yeah, squares are good. Squares are actually probably the best way. So yeah, just use your pizza cutter, come in here, cut it up. You know how to do pizza. Sometimes when they do squares though, they go too small with the squares. Would you agree?
I like a lot of pieces, so I like small squares.
And that right there is a Fathead pizza, staple keto recipe made by millions of people probably. You think millions? I would say probably millions. Yeah, just really good staple recipe. I feel like a lot of times when people have this for the first time, they're like, maybe I can do this. You know, this is really, because pizza's just the best. No one can argue with pizza. It's really hot. I'm gonna try it anyway. Yeah. Just the best. Really great. Haven't had it in a while. I don't think we've made Fathead pizza for like 2 or 3 years probably. One thing I would look at is the sodium content of the mozzarella cheese. So this has 190 milligrams per quarter cup. To me, it could use some more salt. So I know the cheeses will vary in how much salt they have, but if you like yours a little saltier, you could add some salt to the crust. Just a great recipe. Feed the whole family, they'll love it. Yeah, you can do pizza nights again. Maybe for the next 2 weeks, you could try this recipe, or you can go to ketoconnect.net, try the chicken crust pizza recipe, and have everyone pick their favorite. What's your favorite?
Chicken.
Yeah, so check out the site, ketoconnect.net. It has all the recipes. You want to use probably a finer ground almond flour, as finely as possible for almost every recipe. There's really no point in not getting finely ground almond flour. But if you're looking for more keto recipes to get started, since it's the new year, check out ketoconnect.net. We got tons of them, and thanks for watching.